for the long-term assurance that Iran does not acquire a nuclear weapon. It also threatens the global non-proliferation regime. As I stated 3 days ago and before, I am ready to travel immediately and to engage with all relevant parties to help ensure protection of nuclear facilities and the continued peaceful uses of nuclear technology in accordance with the agency's mandate. With your support, the IAEA can deploy nuclear safety and security experts to Iran immediately, in addition to our safeguards inspectors, wherever they are needed. Madam President, there is arguably no more important and universally supported endeavor than ensuring that we use the enormous power of the atom for good rather than destruction. Let us not allow the window to close on diplomacy. Let us not allow the non-proliferation regime to fail. Irrespective of individual positions and views, one thing is certain, and this is the simple truth: we will not be safer if there are more nuclear weapons in more states around the world. The IAEA is ready to do its part to bring this military confrontation to an end. Thank you very much.
I thank Mr. Grossi for his briefing. I now give the floor to those council members who may wish to make statements. I give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Madam President. At the outset, I'd like to express my appreciation to Guyana Presidency of the Security Council for promptly convening today's meeting at this increasingly precarious moment. I thank the Secretary General for his powerful statement. I also appreciate IAEA Director General Grossi and ASG ENCHA for their informative briefings. In just over a week, this Council has met 3 times. Yet, regrettably, each session has witnessed a further escalation of tensions. The Republic of Korea reiterates its profound concern over the deteriorating situation in the Middle East and expresses its sincere hope for urgent de-escalation. When we gathered last Friday, we voiced our hope that a renewed opening for diplomacy might emerge. It is lamentable that in a matter of only 2 days, that hope now seems even more distant than before. Despite the deeply concerning developments in recent days, the Republic of Korea remains firmly convinced that no sustainable resolution to this crisis can be achieved through military means alone. Indeed, now more than ever, we implore all parties to recognize that diplomacy is not merely an option, but an urgent necessity. We call on all sides to exercise maximum restraint and to commit in earnest to restoring dialogue and engaging in reinvigorated diplomatic efforts. Madam President, at this perilous moment, it is vital to prevent a further downward spiral. We therefore reiterate our call for full respect for the UN Charter and international law, and the safeguarding of the international non-proliferation regime. Any indiscriminate attacks against civilians or civilian objects are prohibited. This is an absolute principle that must be upheld, especially as the situation grows ever more volatile. The Republic of Korea highly appreciates the IAEA for its unwavering efforts to ensure nuclear safety and security under these extremely challenging circumstances. We also remain mindful of the safeguards implications of the current crisis. All parties need to return to the table so both military actions and nuclear safeguards concerns can come to an end. In conclusion, Madam President, it is imperative to avoid any further military escalation and prevent a spread of the conflict. We strongly hope that a renewed window for diplomacy will open again. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Republic of Korea for his statement, and I give the floor to the representative of Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I thank you for convening this emergency meeting of the Security Council. The gravity of the situation in the Middle East demands the Council's immediate attention as it discharges its primary responsibility to maintain international peace and security. I thank His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, for his introductory statement. And I also thank Assistant Secretary General Miroslav Janka and Director General Rafael Grossi of the IAEA for their timely and important briefings. Sierra Leone aligns with the Secretary General's call for immediate de-escalation to avert, and I quote, catastrophic consequences for civilians, the region, and the world, end of quote. While guided by our earlier interventions at meetings held on the 13th and 20th June on this situation, the alarming developments compel this Council to act with urgency. We are concerned to note that less than 24 hours ago, the United States of America struck nuclear facilities at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Earlier that day, the State of Israel launched further strikes on the Isfahan complex. Iran also responded with missile launches at Israel. We take note of Director General Grossi's briefing on the off-site radiation in the nuclear facilities hit by the strikes. The event, however, heightened the risk of radiological disaster and increased civilian suffering. Sierra Leone is deeply concerned by these military strikes, particularly as they target nuclear installations and densely populated areas in Iran and Israel. Even as we recognize the complexities of the regional security environment, these developments call for renewed commitment to the principles of the UN Charter and international law. The use of force is among the most serious matters before this Council. Article 2.4 of the Charter obliges all member states to refrain, and I quote, from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, end of quote. In this instance, we note with concern that the strikes were conducted without Council authorization, nor was there a clear invocation of the right of self-defense under Article 51 in response to or an imminent armed attack. As we approach the 80th anniversary of the Charter, born of a collective resolve to, and I quote, save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, end of quote, we are witnessing actions that undermine its promise. These attacks starkly contrast the spirit of collective security envisioned in San Francisco. We underscore that collective security remains the bedrock of the rules-based international order and calls for strict and consistent adherence to the UN Charter. Madam President, the targeting of nuclear facilities heighten our concerns. International humanitarian law requires particular caution regarding such sites due to the potential for grave humanitarian and environmental harm. The IAEA has repeatedly affirmed that attacks or threats against nuclear facilities devoted to peaceful purposes violates the Charter, the IAEA statute, and international law. We therefore stress the critical importance of upholding the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, the cornerstone of the global non-proliferation and disarmament architecture. The NPT prevents nuclear weapons proliferation and provides a framework for addressing concerns related to peaceful nuclear energy. Actions outside this framework risk undermining the treaty's authority and effectiveness. We urge all parties to utilize the NPT mechanisms, including through the IAEA, to address legitimate concerns and avoid measures that weaken this vital instrument of international peace and security. Madam President, we have taken note of Iran's recent letter of 21st June 2025, Israel's communication citing self-defense, and a joint letter from France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. These underline the mounting claims and counterclaims, reinforcing this Council's duty to uphold the Charter. In this regard, Sierra Leone therefore advances the following point. First, we call for an immediate comprehensive ceasefire. Continued hostilities risk igniting a wider regional conflict, destabilizing maritime routes, and unsetting fragile energy markets. There is no military solution. We urge all parties to engage in diplomatic talks and resume structured dialogue towards restoring Resolution 2231 and a joint comprehensive plan of action before remaining measures expire on 18th June 2025. The potential broader consequences of an escalating conflict must not be overlooked. Disruption of key shipping lanes could severely affect small and developing economies, particularly those still recovering from the
मशरक़ी वस्ता को अमन का गहवारा बनाना चाहिए और सरबरा AI की जानिब से इस वक्त सलामती कौंसिल कमेटी के अहम तरीन हंगामी इजलास में इजहार ख्याल किया जा रहा था, जबकि एंटोनियो गुतेरेस UN जनरल सेक्रेटरी की जानिब से भी इजहार ख्याल किया गया। मशरक़ी वस्ता में जंग की आग मजीद फैल गई। अमरीका ने ईरान की एटमी तनसीबात पर हमला कर दिया। ईरान